It's the 29th of March 2024, Easter Friday, as it happens. It's one of those days where it's beautiful and clear, and if you sit down and you don't do much, the breeze is kind of cold, such that you sort of feel a bit of autumn, need a jumper. But then as soon as you start moving and doing something, you think, gosh, it's hot. Let me preface everything I'm about to say by an acknowledgement that I'm a lazy guy. I don't plan things. I don't wait until I have the ideal resources or time to do it. If I get it in my head that I want to do something, then I do it regardless, such that things can look a bit scrappy and a bit sort of thrown together. And case in point, look at this terrible fence, part of which is sort of held up with baling twine and bits of wire and whatever else. And so it kind of went with this little bed here, which is where our dog Leo is buried. And Leo passed away very sadly toward the start of COVID, and we knew we wanted him to be buried here, but with restrictions and whatever else, it made it really hard. And so actually circumstances necessitated that we just had to do what we could do, and he was ultimately laid to rest here. At that time, actually, there wasn't any sort of perimeter fence around this garden, and there's actually a video where you can see me putting together this fence. What I'm going to do actually is increase the size of it, and you can see I've just very briefly started to clear away some of the tussocky grass and sort of to give an indication of where this extended bed is going to go. This garden bed worked really well, and again there's videos of a bunch of bulb flowers growing in this particular bed, which has over the years, I have added more rocks to it. I have sort of basically formalized it a bit more. In the first year it was scarcely more than sort of a circle of rocks just to indicate where the area was, and then over time I have built that up a bit, and then as a result been able to build up the soil that's in there. And so I'm going to expand it out, and the idea is that I want to include within the space some of these other things that are planted adjacent to where the existing bed is, most particularly this maple tree here, which is an Acer rubrum, and it's growing on pretty well. Acers struggle with the excessive heat that we get out here, but this one seems to have come through its first couple of years and it's doing okay. I wouldn't say it's thriving, but it's doing okay. And actually this, like a lot of the trees that are out here, actually grew in our courtyard for the first couple of years of us having it, and Leo actually would have slept under this tree when it was in the courtyard. So that's kind of why it's special and why I've decided to put it here, and why I want to include it in his resting space. There's a rose which is growing behind him, and that has struggled but is actually doing okay, and it's had blooms. Sometimes there is some benefit with just getting on and doing things even though the circumstances aren't necessarily right. Because I know people, and my lovely partner Mark is perhaps one of such people, who will wait until circumstances are ideal for doing things. He will plan out things very well, and he will wait until the job can be done properly. And that is a terribly admirable trait. And yes, it has to be said that the end result is often better. Having said that, sometimes things actually just never get done, or if they do get done, it takes years and years. And if you think about this particular circumstance here, where we had to lay our dear dog Leo to rest, that just wasn't really an option. We just had to get on with it. And the same for the building of the perimeter fence here, which actually I love. I think it's fine and it's effective. I mean, it's effective in keeping the sheep out. So I guess my point is that while you shouldn't be rash and, shouldn't race off and do things in a terribly premature way such that they're bound to fail, sometimes, these things kind of just do sort of happen organically. And it's not like things are fixed in stone. I mean, literally here, it's not fixed in stone. I can move all of these stones, and I'm going to turn this area into something better than it is now. And in another year or another 2 years or another 5 years, I expect it will be better than it is after I sort of rejig it this time. Things sort of take on an organic life of their own and just work out. So maybe sometimes, you just kind of go for it, even though circumstances aren't ideal, and it will just kind of work itself out. It's kind of the ethos that I take for many things in life. Can't apply this to everything, but you can certainly apply it to something like a garden bed, I think at least. All right, so it's the end of the day, and this is kind of how I'm thinking this new garden bed will look. I'll keep working at the stone wall, which is pretty rudimentary at the moment, needs a lot of infilling and probably a lot of reordering, but I can tack away at that over the coming days, and I'll do a bit more early tomorrow morning. But yeah, I think this is kind of good. A little change of plan this morning. I've continued to sort of work on this rock wall which surrounds this extended bed, but rather than put little Leo's plaque on a stone as it originally was, I've actually dug in an old tree limb and kind of just by this rose here, and chiseled out a little groove here, and I'll put him in there so that he's closer to his maple tree. This is his resting place right here. You can sort of see this area. So it's the original sort of garden, and yeah, he gets a better look over the whole garden, and indeed he's just at a higher vantage point and we can see him more easily. And in time this rose bush will grow up, as will other things that I will put in here, and sort of surround him. So I think that will work pretty well. Now what I need to do, of course, is start adding some soil and other stuff to it. And I've just put a load from the sheep pen in there today. What I might do is grab a couple of bales of horse manure, maybe a bale of straw, and then a few bags of potting mix or soil, and put those in as well. And then I can put, I think, another 100 spring bulbs into here. And that should look quite good. And in terms of rock walls, again, as is my way, There's nothing formal about this. There's no particular method that I adopt to do this. I'm sure it's the wrong way to build a wall. Having said that, I've built now a few of these rock walls, and for the most part, they stay up. What I do over time is fill in the little gaps with the tiniest of little pebbles, little stones, little broken bits. And that does seem to solidify the wall, and it just settles in place over time as well as other, as little things get in and drag grass into it and lizards find homes in it, etc. You do get little bits that fall from time to time. Sometimes I knock it over with the wheelbarrow or whatever, but again, for the most part, I'd rather have it up and doing a job rather than wait until I could do it perfectly. And indeed, I don't even have the skills to build a rock wall perfectly. I know you're supposed to start with sort of a very solid foundation level and then build up from there. I can't be asked with all of that. It's a garden wall, and not even a wall that needs to keep anything out. It's aesthetics as much as anything. So it's perfectly okay. So this is how Leo's garden has ended up looking. Well, thus far. Still in the process of building up the stone wall around it, but it's a much bigger bed now, and it encloses the maple tree that I spoke about, and I've also moved from another location this forsythia, which was going into dormancy. I moved this last week, so the move doesn't seem to have impacted it at all. Although ideally you should, I think, wait until it goes into a fuller state of dormancy. What I've done is just been filling the extended bed with lots of different materials, some soil from other beds, a little bit of material from the compost pile, material from the sheep pen, which has the sort of sheep droppings and the old sort of rotting hay in it, and I bought a bale of straw also and let the sheep stomp on that for a week, and I've added that to the bed, and also some ash materials from a fire pit. I've added a bit of that in there as well, and I'll need to just keep building up the soil. Last week I put about 40 bulbs in, I think. I've put his little plaque on the fence post there, super glued into place. So now what this leaves us with is two areas either side. Area here, which I think should become another bed of some kind. The trees that are in there's a Lombardy poplar and another maple tree, which was a rescued tree from down the front on our shared driveway. Both of those need to move, so that space will be clear. And then there's about the same sized space on the other side here. Inconveniently got the chair, but it's maybe 2 meters by 3 meters. Thinking this tree maybe should stay. This is another maple tree, and there is a sugar plum in the corner there, which doesn't look like it's doing so well, but actually it is doing well. It's put on a lot of height, so I think that will stay there. It would make this a very shaded area, but that's probably okay. Maybe what I will do is leave this as a sitting area so that we can sit by this this garden. I think that would be nice. And maybe what I will do is get rid of that or redo that and repurpose those materials to build something there. Let that just rest this year. This can stay as it is. This just flowers. There's sort of, I think it's a wormwood. There's some snapdragons in there, some sweet alyssum, and some other, I think it's a native flower of some kind. This one has a yellow flower. So this bed actually looks quite good when it's in flower. So I'll probably just leave that. But if I turn this into a seating area, maybe get a bench seat that we can put there, it'd be between the two trees, which as they grow up will provide a bit of shade. And yeah, I think that's probably the right thing. And then in this area outside of this garden, which is sort of closed off on two sides at the moment, I think maybe poultry sheds might go into this section, or something like that, maybe another animal pen of some kind.